As we take these final moments, continuing to breathe deeply, continuing to keep that flame alive, that peacefulness within us, around us, and everywhere. We can begin to consider setting an intention for our practice. Maybe our intention is to continue this peaceful state, allowing ourselves to stay in the present moment, letting go of any judgment or expectation. Maybe our intention is to try something new that we haven't tried before, or maybe surrendering to a new way of doing a posture. Or maybe our intention is just to be. Whatever your intention for your practice is today, know that you have the presence and support of everybody who's gathered here today. And in just a moment, I'm going to turn my video back on, but please feel free to keep your eyes closed in this case. And whatever your rest posture may be, you can continue to stay in that pose. But begin to find yourself in a position lying down on the mat in Shavasana. And when we're ready, we're going to take our arms up overhead and stretch the fingertips, stretch the toes, and inhale deeply as we can. And exhale, release everything into the mat. Let's try that again. Inhaling one more time, stretching all the way through our arms and legs. And exhale, letting it all go. We'll try that one final time. Again, inhaling our deepest breath. And maybe even dramatically as we exhale, sigh. Letting it all fall to the floor. And when we're ready and in our own time, we'll inhale deeply, and on our exhale, we'll bring one knee in towards the chest and squeeze it towards us. And once again, on our next exhale, we'll bring the other knee in, this time sending the other leg long on the mat. Again, matching the breath on our next exhale, we'll alternate legs and continuing our flow as we match our breath to our movement. Allowing ourselves to wake up the body a little bit, encouraging some gentle movement. And if you're like me, you might hear a little bit of snap, crackle, and pop in your knees, and that's okay. Let's alternate one last time. And when we're ready, on our next exhale, let's bring both knees up towards our chest, and we can rock from side to side, gently massaging out our spine. And just letting this be a gentle hug towards ourselves. And when we're ready, we'll bring our feet to the floor with our knees still bent, and we'll put our hands just next to our bottom, maybe close to our heels if we can, as we set up for a gentle bridge. So from here, on our next inhale, we're going to gently bring our hips up to the sky, and exhale, roll everything back down. We'll try this a couple more times. Inhaling deeply, reaching up, and exhale, flowing all the way back to the floor. We'll continue again, matching the breath to the movement, and exhaling back down, creating that dynamic tension. If we like, we can even inhale, bringing the arms up overhead, and exhale back down. This is called flowing bridge. Let's try that a few more times. And again, it's not about going fast, it's finding that dynamic tension and really reaching and engaging all of the muscles as we still flow through the movement. Let's try that one more time. and exhale down. Let's do one bonus. Let's try one more time. Inhaling, coming up a little bit further, and if it's available today, we can bring our arms underneath us, maybe even clasping the hands, reaching up a little bit higher, and finally exhale deeply back to the floor. And to create a counter stretch, let's once again bring our knees into our chest, rocking from side to side. Beautiful. And when we're ready again, we'll plant our feet back to the floor. And we'll just take a moment to windshield wiper our knees from side to side, allowing ourselves to open up our hips a little bit and continue a bit of that flowing movement. And when we're ready, we can bring our knees back to neutral. And again, we're going to do a little bit of ab work to fire up our core. So again, many different options. We can try one as if we're on the beach looking over our book. We're going to gently come up, look over our book to look at the waves, and come back down. Again, ideally, we come up on our exhale and inhale, release back to the floor. Let's try this a few more times. Again, the goal is the controlled movement. If we like, we can even bring our hands behind our head in more of a typical crunch. Or we can even pedal out our feet, bringing one elbow to one knee and extending the opposite leg. Again, finding the movement that makes sense for this morning. Finding the heat or tapas in our body. Let's try that a few more times. And when we're ready, let's hold up. And again, release all the way back to the mat. And again, let's windshield wiper our legs from side to side. Excellent. And when we're ready, let's allow our knees to fall to one side. And we'll bring one arm up overhead and come into a little bit of a fetal posture. And putting some weight into hands, we'll bring ourselves up onto all fours for that tabletop position. And actually, before we do that, let's take a moment to roll out our wrists as we prepare for cat and cow. So allow everybody to roll out their wrists. And if cat and cow is more comfortable on a chair, we can do that the same way. And if you know cat and cow, you can go straight into that posture if you prefer to do it on the floor. So when we're ready, we're going to inhale, drawing the belly button forward for cow. And exhale, we're going to round out the spine for cat. Again, inhaling, bringing our navel so that it expands, and exhaling, drawing it through. I'll do this on the floor as well. Inhaling, reaching with the crown of the head. Exhaling, drawing all the way through. And as we do this, matching our breath to the movement, we want to keep our fingers nice and wide like starfish. So we have all of that equal distribution in our hands. Again, feeling where we can create that heat and engage our core as we flow through the movement. And when we're ready, we'll come into that neutral position, and many different options here. We can try just reaching one arm forward and reaching that arm back down, and then alternating reaching the other arm and bringing it down. We can stay here, or we can try releasing one arm and the opposite leg and returning it back to the mat. Again, reaching opposite arm, opposite leg, and on the exhale, release it back to the floor. Let's try that a few more times, and the option to draw the elbow to the knee, extend back out, and release to the floor. Again, extending through our inhale, exhaling, inhale, reach, return to the floor. We'll try that one more time on each side. And by now we should be starting to feel some heat in our body. And finally, when we're ready, we can go to child's pose, or I'm gonna give a few more options. So we can also do what I call puppy pose. So instead of sending ourselves back, I'll do child's pose first, which is releasing our hips all the way back. We can also do puppy pose, which is a little bit more on our forearms. We can stack our hands, or we can even go to the chair and come up like this. So many different options. And all of them are the right choice for whatever feels right today. So in whatever adventure we choose, we take this moment again to settle in, calming our nervous system, allowing ourselves to find that grounding breath. And when we're ready, we're going to come up and bring ourselves forward. And coming a little bit forward, we're going to do a little bit of a push-up and release ourselves back down. Let's try that one more time. Again, inhaling, coming forward, exhaling, bending, and coming back down. Keep going as we go. I'm going to show a version with the chair as well. We're going to inhale, come forward, and making sure we have our chair nice and planted, we'll exhale, push through, coming back down. Again, inhaling, flowing forward, and exhaling. And when we're ready, let's finally come into that rest pose as we release ourselves either into child's pose or a constructive rest pose. Again, finding that center, breathing deeply as we prepare for our first downward dog. And for those who are familiar with yoga, we can go straight into that downward dog, or I'm going to give the option to use the chair. So coming forward, taking the chair, we're going to gently take one leg up and the other and release the heels down. And it's almost like downward dog with the chair. So either in downward dog, we take this moment to pedal out our feet, feel only that gentle inversion, creating some strength in our arms and legs. We can also come into leaf pose, which is just gently taking a wide squat and resting our hands on our knees. And when we're ready, if we're in downward dog or whatever position we are in currently, we'll gently walk our feet towards our hands or gently come forward towards the chair and take ourselves into a modified or full forward fold, allowing ourselves to lengthen the backs of our thighs and calves and releasing our neck, yes or no. And when we're ready, we'll gently bend the knees, rolling all the way up, reaching up to the sky and bringing our hands to heart center. Beautiful. All right, let's take an opportunity to increase that heat. Again, we're going to take our toes wide, again, finding the corners of the mat. This is similar to what we did if you were here last week. So we're going to start with moonflowers, bringing our arms up like a starfish. We inhale through the top and exhale, bend the knees, bend the arms, and release back up. Again, inhaling here, exhaling. And again, I invite you to find that Ujjayi breath or ocean breath, where we gently find that constriction, where we hear our breath as we breathe in through the nose and exhale through the nose. Again, this is a workout in and of itself if you want to use the chair and just do the arms and find that engagement in the core. Excellent. Let's try a few more, again, going at our own pace with our own breath. And let's switch it up into sunflowers, reaching this time, sweeping the arms underneath and coming back up. And again, we can find many different levels of how deeply we squat. and how much we reach. Let's try that one more time. And when we're ready, we're gonna come towards the top of the mat and we're gonna come into a chair pose. So taking our arms up or maybe to heart center, we're gonna sit back in our chair, making sure we don't put our knees over the toes and create a little bit more heat. I know this is starting to, you're gonna feel it in your quads and in your glutes. We'll take one more moment here and release, sweep the arms up and exhale, bringing the hands to heart center. Let's take a moment here, pausing, closing the eyes even, feeling the rhythm of our heart. Again, allowing ourselves to breathe deeply, inhaling and exhaling. Feeling strong and rooting our feet through the mat like roots. We'll prepare ourselves for some sun salutations. I'm going to give a couple of options. So if you like what we did last week, we'll continue that as an option. I'm going to give two other varieties. So if you do want to pay attention, we'll also use a chair for the first one. So if that's something you're interested in, we'll take a moment, bringing the hands to heart center. We'll inhale, swoop the arms up. Exhale, fold forward, bringing our hands to the chair. On our next exhale, bring one knee back and bring the other knee back into child's pose or child's pose with a chair. On our next inhale, we flow forward, coming into a push-up position, and then coming up into a modified cobra or with the chair pushing back. We inhale and then exhale again back into child's pose. On our next inhale, we'll gently bring one foot forward, either using our hand to assist, and then bring the other to meet it. And again, inhaling, we'll have a flat back. Exhale, fold a little bit gently forward. And once again, we'll inhale deeply, reaching all the way up. And exhaling, bringing the hands to heart center. This time, if you want to use the chair, please go ahead. Otherwise, here's the next option. Inhaling deeply, we reach the arms up. Exhale, we can fold forward with the knees bent or straight. Inhaling, we'll look up halfway with a flat back. Exhale, this time we'll bring the other knee back, bringing it to the mat and settling all the way down into child's pose. On our next inhale, we'll come forward, coming into that push-up position, into a modified cobra. And exhale, push back all the way into child's pose. On our next inhale, we'll bring the other foot forward, either assisting with our hands or without. Bring the other foot to meet it. And inhaling again with a flat back halfway. Exhale, folding forward. On our next inhale, rise all the way up. And exhale, bringing the hands to heart center. I'm going to give one more option here. So stay with me or keep doing what you're doing. Choose your own adventure. Okay, inhale, reaching the arms up. We exhale, fold forward all the way down to the mat. Inhaling, looking up halfway. We can either come into that kneeling lunge or we can step back into plank. And from plank or kneeling lunge, we would go into child's pose, or inhaling deeply, we reach down into upward facing dog and exhale back into downward facing dog or child's pose. On our next inhale, we'll bring our foot forward and bring the other foot to meet it. Inhaling, looking up halfway. Exhale, folding forward. On our next inhale, bending the knees, rising all the way up. We exhale, bring the hands to heart center. We'll try that again. Same sun salutation on the other side. Again, inhaling deeply. Exhaling, releasing all the way to the floor. Inhaling, looking up halfway. We exhale, this time bringing the other foot back into plank. And inhaling, we release and exhale into upward facing dog. And exhale all the way into downward facing dog or child's pose. Taking a moment here, bending the knees, looking forward, bringing that foot in between the hands. We bring the other foot to meet it. Inhaling, looking up halfway. Exhaling, releasing back to the mat. On our next inhale, again, grounding the feet, reaching all the way up to the sky. And exhaling, bringing the hands to heart center. Let's take a moment here, breathing deeply in and out. Finding that core center. Again, keeping that flame alive, cycling through our whole body. And if we like, we can take our feet a bit wider and bring ourselves into mountain pose. And make this an active posture. Again, taking the shoulders up, down, and back, and opening up the chest, reaching all the way through the fingertips and grounding with the toes. Beautiful. Taking one more moment here to inhale deeply. Let's bring our hands behind ourselves. And again, we'll open up the chest by either interlacing the fingers or taking the back of our shirt and bringing ourselves, so almost like we're trying to bring our shoulders together at the back, opening up our chest. And when we're ready, we'll take our arms wide, sending all that energy out through our fingertips, and give ourselves a big hug, wrapping our arms around ourselves, taking our shoulders and drawing our chin to our chest. Taking a breath or two here. We'll once again inhale, reaching out, opening up the chest again. And this time sending the arms behind ourselves again and seeing if we can put the other thumb on top if we're reaching all the way back with our hands clasped. Again, checking in with our face. Is it soft? Are we holding tension in places we don't need to as we activate this posture? And again, exhale, releasing the arms and giving ourselves another big hug, one other arm on top. And again, tucking that chin into the chest, allowing ourselves to release. And just for this moment, let's take a deep, deep inhale and exhale. Let it go. Let's try that one more time. Again, inhaling deeply. And this time as we exhale, open up the chest and come back into mountain pose. Excellent. And when we're ready, we're going to once again inhale, bringing the hands to heart center. And we'll exhale, bringing the hands up. Oh, sorry. Inhale, bringing the hands up. And exhale, coming forward or to the chair. And we're going to find ourselves in a kneeling posture, either using the chair or coming all the way down. And bring ourselves into that crescent lunge. Same as last week. Again, lots of options. We can bring our hands to heart center. We can use the chair or blocks. As we settle into this posture, feeling that stretch and also seeing if we can find that dynamic tension in our front thigh. And if it's available today, we can even try tucking the toes under and coming so that we bring our knee off the floor into that full forward lunge or crescent lunge. If our arms are up, really making sure the shoulders are back and down, reaching out through the fingertips. And when we're ready, let's bring ourselves back to the mat, bringing that other knee to the floor and coming into child's pose or any constructive rest pose that we've offered today. Again, nodding the head back and forth, allowing ourselves to find these moments of rest in between. And when we're ready, once again, we'll come forward. And this time, let's bring the other foot in between the legs as we come into this crescent lunge again, reaching up, using a chair, the blocks, or maybe even a prayer posture or hands to the hips. We find again that tension and release, maybe taking this stretch a little bit deeper and then coming back. And then again, if it's available, coming up on the toes, bringing the knee off the mat and drawing ourselves all the way through. Finding that place of calmness and stillness, inhaling and exhaling. Let's take one last moment. Again, bringing our hands to the mat, bringing our knees together, and finding that constructive rest posture. Allowing our belly to breathe into our thighs. Allowing our breath to circulate into all of those places we begin to work. And when we're ready, on our next inhale, we'll bring one foot to the front of the mat and bring the other foot to meet it. And if we're in a full forward fold, we'll come up halfway and exhale back down. And when we're ready, inhaling all the way up, we'll bring our hands to heart center. On our next inhale, we'll bring one leg back. In my case, my right foot is forward and my left foot is back into our first warrior one. And when we're ready, we can inhale, reach those arms up. And again, continuing to engage our legs, finding that dynamic tension with many different options for arms. Continuing to breathe here, whether we're standing or maybe even in a chair. On our next inhale, we can reach the arms out and turn that back foot so that it's parallel to the mat, the back side of the mat, and come into our warrior two. Beautiful. Making sure that we're keeping our shoulders back and down. And also noticing maybe we need to bring our feet closer together today, or allow ourselves to explore taking them a bit farther apart. On our next inhale, let's flip that palm and exalt the warrior into reverse warrior. Again, allowing ourselves to breathe, making sure that we're opening up that side body. And flowing through on our next inhale, we'll bring our right arm to our right knee and come forward into side angle pose. Again, and almost as if we're opening up the chest and looking under that top arm, underarm. And once again, on our next inhale, let's come all the way up into our warrior two position. And again, let's bring our hands either to our mat, the chair, or blocks, and come into a kneeling position and all the way down into child's pose or some kind of constructive rest pose. Again, nodding the head yes or no. Allowing ourselves to release anything we're holding on to. Taking this moment of gentle rest. And when we're ready, we'll continue on the other side. I'm going to flip myself around so you can see a little bit better. And when we're ready, we'll come back up into that standing position. So bringing both feet to the front of our mat. We'll inhale, come up all the way and bring our hands to heart center. This time we'll bring our other foot back. In my case, my left foot forward and my right foot at the back. And we'll turn our foot again so that we're pointing towards the corner of the top of our mat and come back into that warrior one position. And even in this warrior position, finding that sense of peace, feeling that strength juxtaposed with gentleness. On our next inhale, we'll swoop the arms to the side and come back into our warrior two position. Again, lining up the heels. If we're sitting, making sure we're maintaining that strong core, really engaging all the way through our arms and shoulders, reaching out through the fingertips. And once again, when we're ready, let's send that arm forward, flip the palm, and exhale so that we come into reverse warrior. And if we find it a little bit too much with the arm over top, we can even bring it behind our back and just gently send our gaze over that shoulder. As if we're looking at something peaceful and beautiful. Let's take a few more moments here. I know our legs are starting to really feel it. On our next inhale, let's bring ourselves into that warrior two position and bending our elbow onto that other knee, we'll bring ourselves over for side angle pose. And again, if we like, we can always bring the arm behind instead of reaching over top. Taking these moments to feel playful, sending our heart out and letting go of any tension in our face and calming through the eyes. On our next inhale, again, reaching through that warrior two, let's bring our toes so that they're at the corner of the mat. An option for a forward fold here, or again, we can come to the chair for a gentle inversion, or coming all the way down with the feet wide, we can bring our hands to the floor. Again, allowing ourselves to feel that release in the back of the legs. Maybe even going over to one foot, allowing ourselves to deepen that stretch, letting go of the neck, and drawing ourselves back through center. We'll go over to the other side. And again, coming back through the center, we'll take one more moment here, maybe even bringing our hands to our elbows, allowing gravity to take us a little bit deeper. And when we're ready, we'll gently pivot our feet towards the front of the mat. And again, bring ourselves into that kneeling position, into child's pose or a constructive rest posture. Again, taking a few moments here to calm the nervous system, calm our breath, or maybe even calm any thoughts that are unwanted or unhelpful. And when we're ready, we'll come up onto all fours. And we're going to try a little bit of a side plank. So from all fours, we're going to take this opportunity to open ourselves up onto one side. So grounding through one side, feeling that weight in the knee and feeling the weight in the same hand. In my case, it's the left side. I'm going to send the other leg long and open myself out with all of the weight in my hand and my knee on the mat, and open up into that side plank position, allowing the chest to be open and the heart to shine. And if you have another version of side plank, I invite you to go there now. Otherwise, once again, we'll return to the mat, giving ourselves a break, maybe even taking this moment to roll out our wrists a bit. I'm going to turn myself around so I can show on the other side. So once again, from that tabletop position, putting some weight into that side that's on the other side of the mat, putting our weight into our hand and our knee will open up, shining that other side forward and reaching out. And again, if we can, finding that balance where we can even reach and look just above our fingertips towards the sky. And when we're ready, once again, let's bring our hands all the way back to the mat and find that constructive rest posture or child's pose. Taking a few more breaths here. And when we're ready, we're going to find our way into a standing position. So whether you use a chair, or in my case, I'm going to go through downward dog. So tucking the toes underneath, sending the heels back and extending all the way into downward facing dog. I'm going to slowly tiptoe my feet forward. And when we're ready, inhaling halfway, exhaling back to the floor, and inhaling, reaching all the way up, and bringing the hands to heart center. We're going to try one more standing posture. And I can't think of doing peace without tree pose, which sometimes feels like the opposite of peace, but we're going to find that peace. If you think of a tree in a forest or a tree in the wind, they're still rooted and grounded, even though the wind is blowing. So we'll find our own version of peace in our tree pose, however that may look. We can do it with a chair next to us to hold on to, or I'm going to show a couple of different versions. So putting some weight into one side, we're going to feel rooted and grounded in that foot. And then we're going to slowly peel that other foot off the floor. And we can bring it even just to our ankle and play with our balance and bring our hands to heart center. And if we're comfortable here, we can even try, if you have it, a block or a pillow, which is another great way to start opening up the hips if tree is a little bit new to you. Or we can even try going to our calf. And if it's available, we can bring our foot all the way up onto the upper thigh, making sure that we're avoiding the knee. Again, coming in and out of the posture, it's totally normal to lose your balance. It's about finding that focus in the midst of the storm. And taking one more moment to explore as you will, and release that foot back to the floor. And take a moment to just shake that out. Excellent. Let's try that again on the other side. Again, choose your own adventure. Most importantly, finding that grounding in that other side and feeling your root through the floor. And then when we're ready, inhaling, peeling that foot off the floor. Again, opening up the hips, shining the chest, engaging the core, and choosing what's available in this moment. And as we know, there's two sides to every story. There's two sides to our body, and some are happier in tree, and some are a little bit more tangled in the wind. Again, making sure we're continuing to breathe. Let's take this posture, open it up. And when we're ready, again, releasing all the way down to the mat, opening ourselves into mountain pose, shining the chest forward, feeling ourselves rooted and sturdy. And when we're ready, we'll find ourselves back to the top of our mat. As we prepare for some more gentle postures, we'll inhale deeply, exhale, fold forward or reaching for the chair. Inhaling halfway, We'll come all the way down to the mat, bringing the knees to the floor, bringing ourselves into constructive rest posture just for a moment. And then when we're ready, we're going to release our belly all the way down to the floor, resting one cheek on the mat, sending the arms wide. Taking a brief moment here, let's gently wiggle our tail, shifting our hips back and forth. And then when we're ready, we'll try putting the other cheek to the mat. Again, allowing ourselves to experience on both sides. And when we're ready, let's create some dynamic tension. Again, we're going to find locust, sending the arms long, extending through the toes and the fingertips, tensing the body, reaching all the way up, bringing ourselves a little bit off the mat. We'll exhale, release all the way to the floor. We're going to do that one more time. Again, inhaling, reaching all the way through the fingertips. If it's available, we can even clasp the hands, bringing the shoulders together, shining that heart forward. And once again, release all the way down, putting the other cheek to the mat. And when we're ready, we'll put some weight into the hands and push ourselves up so that we come into a kneeling position. And when we're ready, we're going to sweep the legs underneath us so that we come into that seated position. And if it's available to us, we can simply take a moment to bring our knees into our chest, shining the heart forward, lengthening the spine. And we're going to gently roll back, just feeling that engagement of the core. And we can keep our hands on our knees and feel that dynamic tension in our core, or we can reach back a little bit more and gently take our feet off the floor into boat pose. And again, we can use our hands or not. And if it's available, we can extend the legs up. See, I'm starting to shake. I'm going to keep it here. We just want that last moment of fire. And let's release all the way down. Beautiful. All right, sending the legs forward into staff pose. We'll take a moment again here, lengthening the spine, making sure our sit bones are on the mat. We'll inhale deeply and exhale, fold forward, finding ourselves maybe at the top of our thighs, our knees, or maybe even closer to the ankles. Feeling that stretch in the back of our legs. And as we start to settle a little bit into these gentle stretches, we can even close our eyes if that's comfortable. Again, let's inhale, reaching the arms up. And exhale, fold forward, catching wherever makes sense today to feel that gentle release. Allowing our breath to open even more. And when we're ready, we'll take the soles of the feet together and bring them in towards us, maybe taking our feet in our hands and extending the hips wide, opening up the knees. And again, if we have some blocks, we can use those to rest our knees on. Allowing this opportunity to open up the hips. And even imagine the idea, if you were to take your glutes and to turn them in, you might feel that you're able to release your hips a little bit further down and bring your knees a little closer to the mat with that image. Taking a few more breaths. Let's inhale deeply, bringing the arms up. And if it's available, exhaling forward. clasping the feet, or maybe reaching the hands in front of you onto the floor. Excellent. And when we're ready, we'll gently bring our knees together. Let's once again give ourselves a deep hug. And when we're ready, let's find ourselves onto our backs, lying down on the mat and opening ourselves up. Again, taking a moment just to pause, allowing ourselves to be present. And when we're ready, let's bring both feet so that our knees are bent and our feet are just behind our bottom. And as we did last week, we'll do that figure 4 position. So bringing our right ankle behind our left knee, we're going to either gently press the knee away to open up the hips, or we can bring our hands in between, threading our hands behind that left knee and bring ourselves into that figure 4 position, stretching out that glute. Again, as we inhale and exhale, we invite that release and that gentle pressure. Again, option to keep the eyes closed at this point. And when we're ready, release the hands, allow the foot to fall to the floor. And keeping ourselves with our legs crossed, we'll open up one side of the body and allow the gravity of our knees, and maybe shifting our hips over a little bit, we'll send those 2 knees to that side or to the floor. Again, if a block is available, we can actually stack our knees on top of that block if it's more comfortable. Otherwise, finding this opportunity to enjoy that gentle release of the lower spine. On each exhale, it's almost like unwinding a little bit more. We'll take one last inhale. And when we're ready, let's come back to center, placing both feet on the mat. And if we like, we can even bring both knees to the chest just for a moment. And then let's try that on the other side. Again, we'll take our left ankle over our right thigh. And again, either gently pressing away or threading our hands in behind that right knee, coming into that figure 4 position. Again, allowing ourselves to empty our thoughts. When we have trouble, we can always just focus on our breathing. Feeling that gentle sweep. And once again, when we're ready, we'll release our hands, allowing that foot to fall to the floor. And again, crossing the legs a little bit more and sending our hips to the other side of the mat. We can open up the body and allow gravity to take our knees over to the other side. And we can even gaze over that shoulder on our side that's open. Taking these moments to feel calmness and stillness. And when we're ready, we'll gently come back to center. Again, option to bring the knees into the chest. And when we're ready, letting our feet fall all the way back to the mat and then extending all the way out, maybe wide on the mat with our arms reached open for Shavasana. And at this point, I invite you to put on any layers or anything that makes you feel cozy in this final time of rest. And with our eyes closed, I'm going to turn my camera off as we join for our final time of meditation. We can once again check in with that flame, returning to that breath as we start to slow it down again with our deep inhale and exhale. Allowing that flame to cycle all throughout our body, all of the muscles that we've engaged, allowing the breath to release and let go of any tension we're holding on to, or any thoughts or worries that are taking up space. Instead, fill it with light, allowing it to shine inward, outward, and all around. As we continue to breathe deeply in and out, and finding that place of peace. We're reminded that peace does not mean to be in a place where there is no noise, trouble, or hard work. It means to be in the midst of those things and still be calm in our hearts. And as we continue to meditate on peace, I'll share a reflection inspired by two reflections, Daring for Peace by Maureen Killoran, and Go in Peace, Live Simply by Mark L. Bellatini. As we are confronted by chaos, may we have the wisdom to believe in peace. Surrounded by voices of the disagreement, may we have the audacity to speak for peace. Lured by the seduction of despair, may we have the courage to maintain a vision of possibility and peace. May we go in peace. May we live simply at home in ourselves. May we be just in our word, just in our deed. May we remember the depth of our own compassion. May we not forget our power in the days of our powerlessness. May we take care of our bodies, be good to them. They are a good gift. May we crave peace for all peoples in this world, beginning with ourselves, and go as we go with the dream of that peace set firm in our hearts. And as we take these last few moments, we can bring some awareness back into our body. Maybe that's wiggling the toes, wiggling the fingertips, maybe moving our head from side to side. And when we're ready, once again, we'll reach our hands up overhead, lengthening through the arms and legs, inhaling deeply and exhaling, letting go. Again, inhaling, reaching all the way through the fingertips and toes, and exhaling, sighing to the mat. One last time, inhaling our deepest inhale, reaching as far as we can, and exhaling, sighing, letting it all go. And when we're ready, bringing ourselves over to one side, with one arm up overhead, we'll place some weight into our hands and bring ourselves up into a seated position. And we can continue to keep our eyes closed as we find ourselves into a comfortable seat. And keeping the palms open, lengthening the spine, or maybe even bringing the hands to heart center. We take this last moment together to ground our breath. And together, may we continue to breathe in the flame of peace and let it ignite our hearts to be a light for others. And may the light in me honor the light in you. Namaste.